Welcome everyone to the Monday, July 12th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Pine Bluffs City Council. Everybody please join in the
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to present the, to accept the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item is our consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion?
Is that the last payment under swimming pool?
Yes, that's simply for retainage.
Okay.
So we had to do the advertisement for 40 days and 41 days, and so they get paid on the 29th of July for that retainage.
Okay.
It's moved and seconded. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I think the next item on our agenda is the oath of office for our new town clerk. So.
I don't care however you want to do it. I don't care.
Size of this one. Raise your hand. Do we need to do anything else? Raise your right hand.
Okay.
Repeat after me. I, Jacqueline Florstrom, do solemnly swear that I will support,
I, Jacqueline Florstrom, do solemnly swear that I will support,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
that I have not knowingly
that I have not knowingly
violated any law related to my appointment
violated any law related to my appointment
or caused it to be done by others,
or caused it to be done by others,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thanks.
Congratulations. Item number 5 on the agenda is the resolution 2021-02. The resolution approving the proposition to impose the 1% specific purpose sales and use tax in Laramie County, State of Wyoming, for the exclusive purpose of funding specific purposes for specific amounts. The proposition to be voted on at the election to be held on November 2nd, 2021.
I move the adoption of the following resolution.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think we went over it quite a bit, so I have nothing more to say.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, we adopt resolution 2021-02. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Resolution approved. Okay. Item number 6. The nuisance order, discussing the nuisance ordinance and the enforcement thereof. I think we'd start that by having Kim present our basic position on that, and we'll have a discussion to follow.
Thanks. Mayor, Town Council, and residents of the Town of Pine Bluffs, Town Administration and the Police Department are proposing a proactive code enforcement program. Unfortunately, we have many properties, both residential and business, that have become serious health and/or safety problems, and we need to address those immediately. The most desirable course of action is to obtain voluntary cooperation of the public when we seek nuisance abatement. However, if voluntary compliance is not forthcoming, our next step may be to handle the nuisance by contacting a contractor and having the issue taken care of by that contractor and then passing the bill through to the property owner. Another option would be that we could potentially issue a citation for the violation of our nuisance ordinance. But, we just don't feel that by giving somebody a citation or a ticket that really addresses the problems that we have out there as quickly as we can possibly get it taken care of. Our first course of action is, we plan on having a program, it would be called our Code Compliance Program. And what we are proposing is that, our first step is when we receive a complaint from a property owner, that we reach out to the people. First, we log it. We will track everything. We will track all correspondence that comes into our office. Then we'll reach out to the property owner that has the issue. And we will reach out to them by a letter, and in that letter, we'll provide photographs, we'll provide specific citings to the ordinance so that they know exactly what the issues are, and we'll give them a completion date to have the nuisance cleared up. On the day after that date, if the nuisance isn't abated, we will send out a final warning letter, giving them another couple of days, maybe longer, depending on the extent of the nuisance. And at that time, if they don't meet that deadline, we will then contact a contractor to handle the nuisance. If a contractor has to be called in, and it's something as simple as handling a significant weed issue or garbage or something like that, then town administration will be there. We'll take a before picture, we'll take an after picture, and all that information will be provided with the pass-through invoice to the party that needs to clean up the property. If the abatement requires the removal of any items, like old broken down furniture or junked motor vehicles, then our police department will be involved. They will be called to the scene to be there as a standby. It'll be called into dispatch. Again, everything will be recorded and it will be tracked by our office. And the items will be removed by a junk hauler or a tow company or something to that effect. The property owners always have the option to ask for a hearing. All hearings would go before the council, and that's stated in our ordinance. And if people have a serious issue, for instance, say they are recovering from surgery, or they have a medical issue, or they're elderly and they need assistance, and they get this letter, they just need to call our office, and we will do everything that we can to assist and put them in contact with resources to help them. But in many cases, we have properties out there, we have a number of properties that are rental properties that are owned by other residents in this community, as well as property management groups out of Cheyenne and maybe some people that live in Nebraska. You know, those people, we probably won't offer the volunteer program, but we will always provide a list of resources. We're doing the homework now, and we will make sure that that information gets out to everybody. So with that said, Mayor and Council, you have a copy of a draft plan in front of you for how we will go about this step-by-step process of handling any nuisance abatement. You also have a sampling of some photos that were taken today, so they are current, so that you can know some of the things that we are concerned about. You know, this is really being pushed by other members of the community that are very frustrated with the condition of properties that are right next door to them, across the street from them, down the street from them. They're just frustrated. You know, there are sections of fence lying across sidewalks. There are weeds and grass that are, you know, 2 to 3 feet tall in some areas. And it's unfortunate because these are breeding grounds for rodents. We all know we have a feral cat problem in this area. And, you know, we just want to be sure that our neighborhoods are safe and that they're healthy. We also have some homes out there that are completely dilapidated that nobody is living in. You want to talk about a really unsafe environment for young kids that are looking for a place to go hide out. We need to be sure that, you know, we work with those property owners. And again, this isn't the town the town administration bringing a hammer down on these residents. This is other members of the community that are reaching out to us because they are simply frustrated with the conditions of some of the neighbors.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So would anybody up here like to start a discussion?
I think the nuisance ordinance code compliance program that you shared with us, Kim, at least on first look, is very thorough, and I think having it written out like this will be very helpful in the future for everyone involved. When it's completed, will we be able to perhaps put it on the website so it's...
Yes, absolutely. So the plan is to put this program on the website. We will also include a list of frequently asked questions. We have reached out to several other municipalities in the state to see what kind of questions they've been receiving, to maybe answer some questions that we have already received in our office. And we will also provide a list of contractors that we have reached out to that are willing and available to help us through this problem. You know, I think that our biggest obstacle is going to be making sure that we have 100% backing from the governing body, because I'm sure there will be some frustrated individuals out there. You know, in a 2-block area, we received a complaint that we had several junked vehicles, and in a 2-block area, there were 16 of them. And I think the police department can verify there are over 60 junked motor vehicles in and about town. You know, so when you have this junked motor vehicle, again, you have an area where cats can go in there and have babies, or they're unsafe because maybe they're rusted out, or kids want to, play in them. You've got weeds growing around them, so.
Who pays for the contractor?
The town will pay the initial bill to the contractor, and then we will pass that bill through to the property owner with a 20% administration fee.
And if the property owner refuses to pay the contractor and says, I'm not paying this bill?
Well, that's up to you. Well, no, the town will pay the contractor.
Yeah, but I'm
and then
talking
the town
about
will
the property
pay-
owner
Okay, got it.
refuses to pay
Yep,
us.
so we can either send them to collections. We do have we do have a partnership with a collection agency out of Laramie. Or here is where we could discuss further about giving that resident a citation.
You know,
And then they would have to go before the judge and work through it
reading
that
this,
way.
after you give the notice by mail to the person, wouldn't it be instead of getting a contractor involved, getting everybody involved, that just have the police department issue a citation, have Judge Moran handle it in court and get it done with?
That was a thought. However, because of the condition of some of the properties out there, and because we want people to voluntarily take care of their issue first, you know, if we send somebody a letter, you know, maybe they're gonna call us back and say, hey, you know what, I've been out of town for a couple of weeks, I didn't have anybody taking care of my property, or whatever the case may be. Not that I think even a couple of weeks is probably long enough for the condition of some of these, but, you know, we wanna just try and work with the property owner first. The other thing is if we give them a citation, then, you know, that's adding at least another 2 weeks until the following court date to that unsafe or unhealthy nuisance.
Well, it's been going on for months and months
It
and months.
absolutely
So I don't think
has.
another 2 weeks would hurt.
Yeah.
But also, that one lady that gave you the reply back said, to hell with it, she's not doing it.
Right.
You know, so I think if she went in front of the judge and the judge fined her and say, so many days, if you don't get it fixed, you get fined so much per day and get it done with. I think when you're paying the contractor, I think you're gonna wind up, the town's gonna eat it because some people are not gonna pay it. And then you can put a lien on their property, you can do everything, that's where the attorney comes in, so you're paying him.
And you're correct, and, you know, so that the public is aware of that, you know, we can get to a point where we could potentially put a lien on a property. And we don't ever really want to get to that point. But that is built into our ordinance. And that is something that, you know, you all can discuss further, but, you know, I think our initial goal is to work with that property owner and try and clean that property up. It doesn't mean we're gonna hire a contractor to reconstruct a fence. It just means we're gonna mow down all the weeds and tall grass and pick up the fence pieces that are hanging across the sidewalk and maybe stack them neatly in the backyard and just take care of the safety and health concern at that property. You know, the other thing I'd like to point out is you say it's been going on for weeks. You know,
For months.
this has been for years with several, you know, every year we've been sending letters out to some of the same properties. You know, since I've been with the town, we have been reaching out to those same property owners every year. And it is a little bit frustrating, you know, so it should come as no surprise to some folks that, you know, that they would be getting a little love letter from the town.
Well, I would just like to say, just to your point, that the simple fine process and however long that may or may not take does not help the residents that surround these properties. They've already dealt with it, to your description, for months, years, tens of years. And so we have this situation where, yeah, that may be a way we could go, but what gets the neighbors the relief quickly is for it to at least be cleaned up once and start over. And then the process still continues to start, in my mind, where the fines still occur. You know, if they don't pay the cleanup bill, at least we have a property that's somewhat cleaned up, and they're still getting fined. And I understand your point about recovering the money, but personally, I guess that's a risk I'm willing to take with our taxpayer dollars to see if we can get some of these really over-the-top properties cleaned up, at least start through the process. But that's obviously just my opinion.
Absolutely. You know, again, you know, maybe it could be a two-step approach that, you know, the first course of action is to clean the property up. And, you know, if they violate the ordinance again with that same property, then maybe go to a fine. You know, there are many different options out there. If we go to a fine, I know that we are Per our state statute, we are allowed to charge up to $750 a day per violation. And some properties have 3 and 4 violations out there. That's not gonna get us anywhere charging that much money. But, so we would need to discuss something that would make more sense for each individual situation.
And
He's looking at me. I think the key to making this work seamlessly is the documentation at the beginning. I was through one of these many years ago. I still remember the guy's name, so I won't mention it. It was in Cheyenne. And we had all the troops on there with, front end loaders and the whole 9 yards. And did that at 9 o'clock in the morning, and 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the ACLU attorney walked into my office. And I just gave him a stack of stuff. I said, go to the conference room over here, look at the pictures, look at the sworn statements, and after you've looked at everything, come back and we'll talk. He came back and said, sayonara, because it was properly documented.
And that's why we, with every letter that we send, we do attach photo documentation that goes along with the citation of the ordinance, so that it's very clear that we're not just saying you have a problem with weeds. It's, this is the area where you have a problem with weeds, and the picture shows them, 2 feet tall, or whatever the case may be. So we're not just saying you have a safety violation. We're going into detail about that. And, again, the ordinance is in place for, the enjoyment of all members of the community, so that they can go out into their yards and enjoy having a picnic without bugs and mice
Bubba, do you
and
have-
smell.
Yeah, any thoughts?
Yeah, but they're probably not well liked. And there's one property here in town that we've been trying for years to get taken care of, and the guy does just enough to get the town off his back and never improves. Just barely enough.
Are you referring to the house that the fire department has deemed unsafe?
That'd be the one.
Correct. So we do have that documentation from the fire department, and we are trying to track that individual down.
Somebody was up there because they mowed the place and took the old dump truck out of there.
Sure, but just in that particular instance, though, that structure
Yeah.
is an unsafe structure.
There's several of them around town, and some of them have been, in the past year, have been taken care of,
Yes, absolutely.
which
Absolutely.
was great, but there's still problems with, even on them properties, with dead trees and
Absolutely.
stuff that still needs to be taken care of.
And as a reminder, we have free bulk trash pickup for residents that pay for garbage on their utility bill. You just need to call the town hall and we'll be happy to help you with that situation. We also have our community reforestation program that isn't just for planting new trees. It's if you need to finance the removal of a dead tree that could potentially be a detriment to your own house that you live in, with the crazy winds that we have here and things like that. And town administration, if you call us and you need help, we are always willing to help find resources that can help residents that are in a financial pinch or that are not physically able to do something.
Police department has several members doing community service, adults and juveniles. So
Absolutely.
again, they can weed whack, potentially mow your lawn. Just one thing to add, the police department obviously supports this. I don't know if everyone can see me, but we support this 110%. And the council and the mayor and the cleanup of our community. But I think what we really need, what we're asking for, is the support of the community today. to get behind this, and also just help us when your neighbor complains to you and says, you know, I got this notice in the mail, can you believe this? To say, well, yeah, because I complained on you, because your property is devaluing mine, right? So help us, help you, and that's what we're asking for today, is just your support into helping clean up our neighborhood so people will take pride in it. And I think that's just a simple thing. So long have people just not taken pride in their property. Is that a trend of, you know, where things are going? I hope not, right? And I'm sure a lot of you here today hope not as well. And so maybe we do need to kick some people in the butt and get things kind of, you know, going where they're mowing their lawn, they're taking care of their things, and they value and appreciate things as much as everybody else does. So we're really asking for your support. We don't want to be a hammer. That's definitely not what we're doing. We don't want to take people's property or junk property or their vehicles. I know vehicles can be valuable, even old, rusted out vehicles. We don't want to do that. We don't want that to get to that point. We're just asking that you put up a fence, you know, or garage it, or work on it finally, you know, get that project car started, put it in your garage, and take the time to do what you said you were going to do, or not. Sell it and enjoy a vacation or something. But get that property cleaned up, and we just really want the support of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think they've all been answered by now, so thank you.
So I guess I would like to take, people came out today, take some public comment on this issue before we decide what we're doing. But, so you can go in whatever order you'd like, but just please state your name and
You want us to stand? Wouldn't mind.
get this.
I'm Kendra Roeder. I live on Beach Street, and Kim knows full well that I've texted her multiple times about a neighbor that does not seem to take care of properties. You know, property values, some of us in town, a lot of us in town work hard to make sure our places look nice, and, you know, because someday they're gonna get sold and you want the best buck for your place. And when there are, let's say, homes that aren't lived in for years, they become dilapidated. And it's just a distraction for this town. I've lived here 33 years and plan to live here, probably not 33 more, but, you know, I support what Kim is doing 100%. You know, I've even been, when I was still teaching, in one of those groups that we went around and took care of some of these properties for people, you know, some of the elderly that couldn't get out and do it or whatever. And I'm still happy to do that. But I just support this. I think it's so critical that we have a beautiful town, we have wonderful people, and I want to see it stay that way, and we just need to clean up some of the things that aren't so pretty.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I know, like the burnt house over here by the school, Alex, we've been working on this for 30 years when I was on the council, and still sitting there. Who's going to determine what's nice with her lawn, my lawn? How is this going to come about? You going to pick a committee that does it, or one person will say, I don't like theirs. I don't like that car. Do you have a problem with that?
So just to point out in the ordinance, I was concerned about that, and I think reasonable people can agree on the most egregious violations are pretty easy to pick off after that, maybe more difficult, but it states in the ordinance. Public nuisance means any use or non-use of real or personal property which produces to others a material injury, annoyance, inconvenience, or discomfort, or which endangers life or health, or gives offense to the senses of persons of average sensibilities. That sounds very general. I don't know how much more specific we can get, but I think it pretty well covers. I think we can all read between the lines what it's saying is that if the majority of the people could decide that it's a problem, then it's probably a problem.
I have something to say about the said lady that has several rentals. And a week ago, I had a conversation about it, and she asked if we'd found a house to buy, which I don't know where it came from, but she said she had to talk to her accountant to see if she should sell. But also, she said, I said, well, if you don't, they kind of fall apart, and yeah, and I said, then the darn weeds grow up, you know, and she said, the town is being so oinky with me that she said, I'm not going to do a thing about it. And I said, well, then the neighbors get pushed in here, and she said, that's their problem. So I was just thinking here, I don't know what oinky is. I mean, I know what she meant, you know, but I don't know what how that was started. But I was wondering if you, Justin, being a new face, new leader, if maybe you could even just go to her face to face and say, what is it? Maybe just a one-on-one, you know, to say, we want our town to look nice and what has happened here.
Right.
So,
I certainly don't have an issue with that, and I'm not prejudging the situation, but since we started to maybe put together a more formalized approach to this has come up. But it's not like, so I don't know what oinky is either, except to know that when we weren't being oinky, nothing was done about the property either. So, you know, there's a gap there of understanding where we're all coming from maybe, but
I just can't think that she wants to be obstinate to the whole town. I just don't feel that anybody would want to do that, so I don't know what
Yeah, I'd
that
be
meant,
happy.
so,
I'd be
you know,
happy.
just brought it up and didn't know if.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
all residents that get a letter from us get the same exact letter. The only thing we do is change out the sections of the ordinance that property is affected by in the photos. And, you know, again, we give them a reasonable time frame to take care of the nuisance. You know, we don't go out with rulers and measure the length of grass and weeds and things like that. And while I'm not 100% sure of the person you're talking about, I could probably guess. And we have worked with her successfully in years past with other properties. And so, and it's the same letter we used 4 years ago that we're using today. So I'm not sure what changed. And we have tried to reach out to her personally. I have, and the police chief has, to see if we can meet with her and see how we can work through the issue. And, you know, again, that's just for your information. And we're not trying to be mean or pointy or anything like that. We just,
Has that worked?
oinky.
You reached out to her?
Yes.
Has that worked?
It has not, she hasn't returned any of our phone calls. But we were reaching out to her to set up a time to meet with her at her property so that we could find out what the obstacles are and how can we make it better.
Anyone else?
I tried to call her a few years ago and she wouldn't call me back. But when I saw her, I know, and she was just, I said, with my knees and all, I cannot control your weeds that are coming in my yard. And he's having enough troubles too. And they are in our yard. And so she said, well, I'll take care of it. She wants to.
No, what about weeds? We're talking about cutting grass, cutting weeds.
Well, there's a gentleman that just stood up behind you, but
Yeah.
yes, we know there's a significant
I'm
problem.
not a gentleman, I'm just curious.
Please state your name.
Speaking of weeds, on West 6th and West 7th Street, we have 2 state of Wyoming violations as far as noxious weeds.
Absolutely.
Canadian thistles and bindweeds. And when I asked a lady that had bindweed, and she thinks they're so pretty because of the white flowers. I said, well, there's no doubt, pretty white flowers. Do you know they send down tap roots 10 feet or further to gather moisture? and now they're spreading to everyone else's property. Do you not care about that? Well, that just means they'll have pretty white flowers too. To me, that's inexcusable when it's a state of Wyoming noxious weed. Those need to be taken care of. And in this case, and a lot of cases on West 6th and West 7th, it's got to the point where they probably can't do anything about it. So a contractor, a sprayer, somebody's gonna have to come in and take care of it for them. And they're probably not gonna like it, but they've known about these weeds for years and they just don't care. They just don't care.
Mayor and council, I'd also like to address a concern that was brought up on our Facebook live stream. And the concern was that the town is not taking care of our own weed problem in the curbs and gutters, so why should they? And I would like to address that. You know, residents are responsible for weed control out to the curb of their house. They are also responsible for overgrowth that's in our alleys, making it difficult for people to drive their vehicles down the alley without getting all scratched up by limbs, or for our trash truck to maneuver down the alleys, different things like that. So yes, while we battle weeds in our streets every year, we have an active spraying program this year. We've been spraying for the past 2 weeks, and usually takes a few days for that chemical to take effect. But when we have the seed from all of these weeds in these properties, you know, blowing around, it's like it's a constant battle for the town, for your neighbors, you know, whether it be weeds in the streets, in somebody else's property, in our parks, in businesses. It's difficult to keep it under control. We will continue to keep the spraying operations going, and our goal is to have the streets as weed-free as possible and the streets swept in time for trail days. However, if everybody could do their part and get those weeds out of the sidewalk and curb right in front of their house, then that would also be a tremendous help.
So I would just like to say, yeah, that we've had discussions about that internally, and we understand we had some difficulties getting going this year with our spray program, so we understand that not all of the world is perfect all of the time, but you know, I think we're making an effort now, and next year we hope to move that forward on our list of things to do for the summer. But we are where we are right now, and I don't feel like perhaps our tardiness in getting after the problem is a reason to, it's not an excuse for no one else to take care of their problems either. So we all play a part in this, and there are places around town, I've seen bindweed vining up over fences like it's some kind of, beautiful flower, which we know it is not. And it comes with that. On Black Street, there's an entire yard full of cocklebur. And I'm wondering when we may decide, you know, that is not a good thing to get started over there. And so, you know, we've got a lot of weeds around town, not just bindweed, but we all need to be vigilant about that. And while we're on that, for those of you who would like to take care of your weeds, I believe this weekend is Weed and Pests free jug fill-up day from 8 to 12 this Saturday. And so I would encourage people to take advantage of that program, and if you have questions about what you may need to spray, they'd be more than happy to help you and fill your jug and give you advice. And I'm not sure what the participation level is in that program, but it's an awful nice thing, and if people would take advantage of that in their small yards, they probably wouldn't have to buy chemical all year long. So I hope I'm not mistaken, but I believe that's this Saturday. So so any other discussion?
I just wanted to mention, I've got 3 neighbors down there that, and I have turned them in already. And one of them is working on his place a little bit, like 2 hours on Sunday. He'll come from Cheyenne and, you know, he might try and mow a little while or cut a tree or something, but he's not gonna get it cleaned up. And I think y'all know who I'm talking about. He owns half a block there. And 3 of the buildings should be taken down. They are a hazard. The kids have been going in them and playing and building things in there and doing all kinds of stuff, so. And the cat problem, definitely down there.
So to your point, not to interrupt, but to Gene's question, I guess to further answer your question, we went around the room with several people, and everyone in this room and probably most of the people watching online, when somebody says, I know of this property, everybody knows what property they're talking about, and it's not all the same one. So my point is level-headed people can probably come to the conclusion when something is out of control and needs to be worked on, so.
Yeah, I'd like to add too that one of our officers here, he has actually gone to one of my neighbors and offered to help him cut dead trees. And I think he turned you down, didn't he?
Yes.
That was disgusting. And it's still laying on the wires,
It's on the wires?
the dead trees, yeah. And I think it's the old cable line or something. It's not the power lines, but
Any other thoughts? So would we like to proceed in some way to keep tidying up enforcement procedures, or how would you like to proceed?
I move that we approve the nuisance ordinance code compliance program as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approved the appliance, or the compliance, code compliance program as presented. Any discussion?
I said my piece.
No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next on our agenda. Thank you for the input from everyone today. Any other visitor comments?
How about the tore up town sign? That kind of looks like that house over there.
So we have taken it down. Are you talking west of town?
It might be.
I think we have removed that this week and are working on.
Yep, the
alternatives.
sign that is no longer, it has been removed, and we are seeking grant funds, I believe. Visit Cheyenne has offered to assist us with the rebuild of our billboard west of town. I don't anticipate that we will be constructing that billboard until this fall, only because of the time involved, unless we can get a contractor in there sooner. But the eyesore is gone.
Flapping in the wind.
Flapping in the wind.
County Commissioner Brian Lovett's here. Do you have anything from the county?
I'm not here for anything specific. We'll always try and get down here whenever I can and give you the opportunity, whether you have questions, comments, or obscenities.
Anyone have any questions for him? Not obscenities, though. Thank you. Any other visitor comments?
Sorry to bother again, but is there any consideration as far as building homes anywhere in the town? Have they talked to any contractors or?
Yeah, so I can say that we've sent out a few packets with the potential north project to a few contractors. We haven't really had any firm meetings set up, but there's a little bit of interest. I think it's a pretty tough sell right now for contractors from Cheyenne, but you know, I think we'll continue to at least explore the idea of sending out, you know, our vision of the property as, and we probably should revisit that at some point since it's been a few years, but I guess the previous vision of what it looked like and be able to discuss that, maybe can add to that.
Sure. And we have also had some face-to-face discussions with some developers. And I believe what the holdup now is, everybody is just kind of chomping at the bit to see what happens with our 6th penny ballot in November. We do have a few projects that will allow us to expand some of our infrastructure onto that north property and build off of what we already have here. And we also, the main entrance to that property will be at the new railroad crossing that will be constructed at Butler Avenue in 2023. And that's a partnered project with the town of Pine Bluffs, YDOT, and the UP Railroad.
Okay, can I make a suggestion on housing?
Yes.
What would be wrong with moving the arena out of the community and put down in that area and open up that area for housing on both sides if the property owner on the west or on the east would, because all of your street's already there, your curb is on one side, utilities are there. A contractor would be more liable to work that area than go down there and have to develop everything.
Sure. You know, that's a suggestion that we can definitely put in our agenda. We are going to be going through our 5-year plan here, if not probably next month in August, where we're going to be looking at our options for future development and you know, how we want to structure some things. We also have a community master plan that is going to be developed with an emphasis on a feasibility study for a senior assisted living facility. And so, you know, that's something that we can also bring up to the engineers that will be doing that community study for us as well. But yes, there are other areas in town where I believe the mayor and council have kind of been throwing around ideas of developing on the south side of the tracks.
I think one of the issues is we get a lot of, we need the actual documentation in front of us. You know, I think that's a property where, you know, I think it's been rumored that it was donated under the stipulation that it stay recreation and another one of those things, and I'm not really sure where we're at on that exactly. And so that, along with, I would also like to point out that we would like to investigate the non-recreation type areas in the Bluffs, maybe the south side of the property, to see the non-utilized areas, to see if that can be developed. That's always been something that has a conflict with recreation, but nobody can really produce the documentation that says exactly what that was. So we need to do some work on our end to figure that out.
Yeah, I know there's a marker down there at the ballpark stating who, you know, gave them that land. But I didn't know if that was just for one block or if that was for the whole area down there.
Yeah.
Even if you moved the arena, you could still put a marker down there for him, you know, as being a donator or whatever.
I believe that marker might just be for the little park area there, but we can certainly look into that.
Yes, absolutely.
I was on that committee, that new land committee, when they originally started it. And the main purpose, or the main problem that they were discussing was getting the school kids to school. Because they were gonna have to either build an overpass or bus the kids to the schools. And it was
Right, when they were
expensive.
going to move the school north. Or you mean putting homes down?
Yeah, if you put homes down below there,
Right.
Well, the school bus, it goes up into 10th Street area
Yeah.
now, in the mornings and the evening to
Yeah.
drop kids off, so I don't know. But that would be a big problem, busing them back and forth across the tracks.
well, the engineers that came from Cheyenne, they thought that was a major problem.
I think we'll move on to department reports. Jana?
No major department report from the senior center. They approved their FY '22 budget. That was about it. I just want to say, I saw the trees being taken down at the cemetery. Too bad that the trees were taken down. I understand why, but it's nice to see the new trees going in so quickly and the work being done. So I just wanted to thank the town for taking care of the cemetery and doing so in a pretty quick manner. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I don't have nothing.
I attended my first EMS board meeting. That went well. They presented some options of how the future of the department, as well as the departments in the eastern Laramie County area may look in the future. Nothing concrete. I believe that Derek said the meeting they were going to have to discuss that more has been postponed, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks they'll talk about that more, and they plan to discuss that with all of us when they have a better plan.
I had my first landfill meeting. Bubba kept me there for 3 hours. I don't know why. It's a learning experience, I can tell you that much. And, I'm new at it, so I'm just gonna wait till I have my second and third one. But it was okay.
The next one's even gonna be longer.
Yeah.
This was 3 hours without Tom talking? He said he was just withholding.
Well, actually, I said a few words.
It was really, really quiet.
When did they get to know me? No, that's all I have.
Alex?
I've been with them a long time and I've learned one thing, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
No, Mayor, I don't have anything, thanks.
Lauren?
Same old, we're just mowing, trying to keep the sewer and the water running and the lights on. There's nothing.
That's a good thing.
We have gotten, I don't even know, it's a lot. We have somewhere around, I think, 5 or 6 poles left that were deemed rotten throughout town that have been replaced. We've upgraded a lot of services, changed out a lot of transformers that are probably from the 1970s. We're just about finished with that, so.
Sonia?
As for the swimming pool, in June, we had about 40 swimmers per day averaged out the month of June. And for our swim lesson session in June, we had 78 little participants for that. And one pool party, and we have aqua size, we average about 5 every day. And private lessons, we average about 4 every day. So July so far, we have our swim session number 2 is going on right now, and there's 91 participants in that one. We ended up having to offer, our class was full for, I think, puddle jumpers on level 1. So, and our olders weren't as full, so we offered a second puddle jumper and level 1 class, and to accommodate people, because we were having to turn people away, and we didn't want to do that. So And I think we have 3 upcoming pool parties in July, so they're staying busy up there. As far as other activities, we still are doing our senior Monday at the matinee, and we get around 7 to 9 people that come to that. We had a kids matinee today, and we had 25 kids that went to the movie today at the community center, so that was good. Next week we'll do Tuesday trails. In June we had 2 Tuesday trails. We had 17 hikers at each of those, so we'll do one on next coming Tuesday. Summer ball will be done. This 26th is scheduled to be done, as long as the weather holds out. And with that, I think I'd reported before, but we have 16 teams total between Pine and the surrounding communities. So the dig site, we've been pretty busy up there actually. And I was up there one day and someone came up and she said, I've always wanted to go to this, but I've never seen the door open. I assume you weren't open last year. And I said, no, we weren't. She goes, I saw the door open, so I thought, I'm just pulling off right here. I'm gonna go to that dig site, and then I'm gonna have dinner in town. And I thought, perfect, that's exactly what we want. We want people to see the door open and pull off the highway and come visit and then spend some money in town. So I thought that was good. Trail days, we have the Longhorn Stampede, doing registrations for that right now, and then same thing for the co-ed volleyball, we'll have that on Sunday. But
Great.
just staying busy.
Awesome. Chance?
Hi everyone. So just a couple things. We had 4th of July and we're really lenient with dogs getting out because just with consideration of fireworks. But now that it's over, that leniency will probably not remain. We will be citing people if you're not able to control your dogs in your property. And I hope that makes sense to everybody, because we just can't have homeowner and dog owner not managing their dog and just running around town when we have a lot of the youth, especially out, going back and forth to the pool. We don't want anybody to get bit, and that's our biggest concern is dogs. Somebody tries to help the dog or find the dog owner and they get bit. That's happened to myself a couple times where it's the smallest dog bites you, right? And so, so again, please just, if you have dogs, just check your property, make sure your dogs are able to be secured, however you do that. And then to add to that too, we go around, and this is kind of how we enforce barking dogs or nuisance dogs. We go around and we talk to the property owner or the dog owner, and we ask them, please, do something with your dog. It's driving your neighbor crazy, right? Or us, or whoever, and we're tired of having to come back and deal with the same problem. Get a bark collar on Amazon, or whatever you're choosing, Petco, whatever. They have them, they're very cheap, they're like $12.95. You can't beat that. Just replace the batteries. You have to do that every month or so, especially if your dog likes to bark a lot. So just be courteous. I think it just kind of highlights again the nuisance we just want to be courteous to our neighbors. So please, watch your dogs, keep them on your property, and if they're barking, try to control that through means of maybe even a bark collar or whatever, or some kind of treat, something. And then also, just so everybody's aware, we had some compliance enforcement for alcohol and tobacco sales a couple months ago, and it was really successful. We went around, we did a little a sting operation, I guess you call it, on some of the businesses, and we had an opportunity to just kind of provide education to the folks that might not have been 100% in compliance. So we just provided that. So any of you juveniles out there thinking you're going to buy your cigarettes or your alcohol from anywhere in town, think again. I think they'll be checking IDs a lot more carefully now. And just for those folks, we will have another one coming up within a week or two. We'll be doing some additional enforcement just to make sure that the education we provided sticks and is beneficial to everybody. Then with that too, we also partnered with DOT and the other agencies, other law enforcement agencies in the area for DUI enforcement. They provided grant funding that will provide overtime, so we'll be doing DUI enforcement within town, just at various hours too. It won't just be at night. So some of those day drinkers that drink too much, just be warned, we will arrest you. So you will go to jail for driving under the influence of alcohol. And I just wanted to point that out there because we just had an incident today where somebody hit our grocery store and they were drunk. So I think that to me is very unacceptable. We have kids, we have a lot of people, like you said, take pride in their community, do damage property, and we will be talking with that individual later, so, thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Kim?
Hi, I just wanted to expand on Jana's comment regarding the cemetery. We had several trees that I'm sure people were heartbroken to see our beautiful old spruce trees come down at the cemetery. Unfortunately, they were all diseased. Many of them were already brown and dead, and the ones that weren't already dead were starting to show the signs and on their way. We know we have an issue out there, so all the trees along the fence line were removed. We'll be removing a layer of soil and amending it with fresh soil and compost before the remainder of the new trees are put in. We did plant some trees today. Those 6 trees were provided by the Laramie County Conservation District, and the remaining trees will be purchased by the town. If the trees are available, we will plant them this fall. If they are not available for the fall, we will plant them in the springtime as soon as the weather permits. So we will have a whole new line of trees along that fence line in the cemetery. We also have plans to replace the chain link fencing that is on the front side of the cemetery with a more decorative black metal fence, so that it looks a little bit more appealing. We'll also be doing some other beautification efforts in the cemetery. We'll be working on the asphalt surface when we have our road contractors come in next year. And we will be continually looking at trees that, might be just reaching their age, and they might need to be replaced with new. So we would like to get those new trees planted before some of those other older trees need to come down, so that they have a chance to fill in the gaps. I also was remiss in discussing our burn pile when we were talking about our nuisance ordinance and code compliance, so thank you to our Facebook Live audience for reminding me about that. And I know that it's been kind of frustrating because we had our burn pile locked during the day and you had to come and check out the key. We have tried opening the burn pile in the past, and we end up with people dumping, furniture and tires and other things that don't belong. So as a friendly reminder, we have our bulk trash pickup program. We'll be happy to come to your house so you don't even have to haul it to the burn pile. But to meet the needs of people that want to get rid of their yard waste, we will have the burn pile open for disposal all day long during the week, and on the weekends from 7 to 4. And we'll give this a try again to see if we can't get folks to give us a call if they've got furniture and bring their yard waste to the burn pile if they have yard waste.
You want pictures if somebody's abusing it?
Please.
If you have a photo and a license plate, we will be happy to take it so we can remind them that we have programs available for those other things.
So, yes, I would just like to point out with that, I think we talked about this, and it seemed very cumbersome, especially when our objective is to get people to clean up their yards. To make it any more difficult seemed maybe counterproductive. So we'd like everybody to make full use of that and use of our other services, but don't use them together. Let's separate the two out and use our yard waste for yard waste and our other program for other things. But I think, to your point, and so we don't have to rely on you all the time, if it becomes a problem, we'll put up a camera and we'll figure it out. But our hope is that it won't be a problem.
Right. So for now, it will only be locked at night.
Mayor, if I can, and just one thing, I know some people, they say, well, I work until 4 and I do my yard work in the evening. If you call the police department and pre-arrange with us, we're more than happy to work with you and opening up the burn pit for you. We have the keys, so after those hours, if you pre-arrange with us, again, we will open the burn pit up for you. So for those who are working, I know that's gonna be a complaint, but just to mitigate that right now, call us, we'll help you out. Thank you.
What's that number, Chance?
307-245-3084, option 1. And that's the best number for us all the time. You get the on-duty officer with that number. If you have a complaint, option 2, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Announcements, meetings?
Our next meeting will be Monday, August 9th. And myself, the town clerk, and mayor, and a couple of council members will be at the WAM convention this coming Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you need me for anything, send me an email or give us a phone call before then. The town offices will be open. Renee and Jericho will be here, but the clerk and treasurer will be out of the office in Cheyenne.
Great. There was one other thing.
I'm sorry, we have one other item. So that we can reach out to a wider audience with our council meetings, we will be switching our platform from Facebook Live to YouTube. This change will go in effect with the August 9th meeting. We'll have all the information and links for you on our Facebook page and on our website. The only difference will be that active questions during the meeting, you'll need to either think of those questions ahead of the meeting, check out the agenda, see what's coming up, or shoot us an email. And we will have all of that information posted to the public so that you're aware of how to get in touch with us to ask questions or bring up a concern to us. And as always, you're more than welcome to join us here in the council chambers, but if you don't have the opportunity and you'd like to, you can just you can participate by watching us on YouTube, and if you have a smart TV, you can watch us on the big screen.
I have a question about that. I think that's great, moving to a different platform, one that's probably a little bit better for at least videos. Will you share the video link on the Facebook page?
Yes.
At the
Yes.
end? Okay.
Yes.
Sure, you said that. Sorry, I
Yes,
missed
we'll share it on Facebook page and on the website.
Perfect.
That's the goal. And also I'll have the agenda available the Friday prior to your meeting so that they can see the agenda. If they have questions, they have concerns, they can get those questions submitted. And then via email or however they would like to get in, they can call us. However they would like to submit those questions, they're welcome to do so. And then you guys, council, may answer those.
Yes. I would like to point out, that the video streaming and the change in platform probably is an improvement. People have more access to that with just any general ability to surf the web. You have access to that. So that is good, but one of the other concerns I guess I have, and I'll just tell you what I think, is that during COVID, during the peak of COVID, obviously the ability to ask questions over the internet was, I think, a good thing. But I think we've moved beyond that. And so to the extent that we produce an agenda well ahead of time, you have the ability to review it. If you have a topic that's of a concern, we need you to make time to get here if at all possible. I just don't think we'll be answering the number of questions we did 6 months ago from the internet. That's not to say we'll never do that. I'm just saying I don't think it will be as responsive as it once was, but just a reminder that that was put in place for a kind of special circumstance. So, anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.